He'd hoped it would draw a line under the story. But instead, 4 days after Newsnight broadcast its interview with Prince Andrew, he's made this announcement. It has become clear to me over the last few days, says the Prince, that the circumstances relating to my former association with Jeffrey Epstein has become a major disruption to my family's work and the valuable work going on in the many organisations and charities that I am proud to support. Therefore, I have asked Her Majesty if I may step back from public duties for the foreseeable future, and she has given her permission.
Prince Andrew backlash, the Prince is panned for what
his lengthy interview with Newsnight was a global sensation.
Excruciating and an unmitigated disaster.
Immediately afterwards, the Duke of York was happy with how it had gone, but his interview was widely regarded as damaging, both to the Prince himself and the royal family more widely. In it, he was asked in detail about his friendship with Epstein and why it continued even after the American was convicted of sex offences, and about the allegations by Virginia Giuffre, then Virginia Roberts, that she was forced to have sex with the Prince when she was 17.
So if Virginia Roberts is watching this interview, what is your message to her?
I don't have a message for her, because I have to have a thick skin. If somebody's going to make those sorts of allegations, then I've just got to have a thick skin and get on with it. But they never happened.
Do you regret the whole friendship with Epstein?
Now, still not. And the reason being is that the people that I met and the opportunities that I was given to learn, either by him or because of him, were actually very useful.
The opprobrium that followed was swift, as was the speed with which companies associated with the Duke tried to head for the exit. Sponsors of his Entrepreneurs Initiative pitch at Palace, including KPMG and Standard Chartered, announced they wouldn't be renewing their sponsorship. The fallout from the interview was even one of the questions in last night's leaders' debate.
Sue from Leeds. Is the monarchy fit for purpose? Jeremy Corbyn.
Needs a bit of improvement.
Mr Johnson.
The institution of the monarchy is beyond reproach.
Whether he's gone of his own choosing or has been put under pressure, ensuring the monarchy remains beyond reproach and leaving the Queen untainted after 4 days of mounting criticism will be behind the decision to step out of public life. Perhaps most troubling for many who watched the Newsnight programme was the Prince's failure to express sympathy for Epstein's victims, despite being offered every opportunity.
This interview has been exceptionally rare. You might not speak on this subject again. Is there anything you feel has been left unsaid that you would like to say now?
No, I don't think so. I think you've probably dragged out most of what is required.
Prince Andrew's statement tonight says what he didn't say on Saturday night. I continue to unequivocally regret my ill-judged association with Jeffrey Epstein. His suicide has left many unanswered questions, particularly for his victims, and I deeply sympathise with everyone who has been affected and wants some form of closure. The challenge now for the Prince will be whether he can restore his reputation within the royal family and the wider public.
Was Katie Brazel giving us a sense of the events so far. We're going to be hearing over the course of the next few minutes from the historian Anthony Selden. He'll be joining us shortly. We'll also be hearing from Di Davis, who is a former head of the Royal Protection and Chief Superintendent of the Metropolitan Police. But right now we're going to go to Gloria Allred, who's the lawyer representing victims of Epstein, and she's joining us now from Los Angeles. Gloria Allred, thanks for your time this evening. Can I just get, first of all, your reaction to what has happened, to what you've heard this evening?
Well, I'm very glad that Prince Andrew has indicated that he will be willing to speak to law enforcement, but I don't know what he means when he says, you know, essentially that if it is required, because I don't know if he's requiring a subpoena or what. Now, my clients who are victims of Jeffrey Epstein did speak to law enforcement, the criminal investigators for the Justice Department, for the Southern District of New York. And they did not require a subpoena or anything else. They recognized that it was important to assist this investigation by providing any information that might be relevant to the criminal prosecution of anyone who may have conspired with Mr. Epstein to sexually traffic underage girls. So I don't know why he did that, Prince Andrew, and added that to his statement. All I can say is he should volunteer to cooperate with law enforcement without any condition and without any more delay.
Let me just ask you then, if he doesn't volunteer himself, what would that next step be? We understand that one of his victims' legal teams had approached him in the past. Do you understand the subsequent steps now?
Well, there are two tracks. One is the criminal justice investigation to see if charges should be filed in reference to anyone who might have knowingly conspired with Mr. Epstein to recruit and to sex traffic underage girls to him. The other is the civil pathway. In other words, civil lawsuits, such as the one that I just filed this week for Jane Doe number 15, and I did a news conference with her. And of course, she alleges that she was sexually abused by Mr. Epstein when she was only 15 years old. So we will be doing discovery in that case and seeking to have anyone deposed, meaning take their testimony under oath as part of the discovery in our case in order to prove our case. And so anyone who thinks that Prince Andrew's testimony might be relevant in to a civil lawsuit that they are pursuing against Mr. Epstein should voluntarily agree to be deposed. In other words, give testimony under oath even prior to trial. So I haven't made a determination yet as to whether we will seek in our civil lawsuit on behalf of our client, and by the way, others will be filed by us as well, other lawsuits, whether we will need to take Prince Andrew's deposition. But I'm saying he should provide it in any civil case as well where his testimony might be relevant.
Gloria, can I just ask you what reaction there has been from your clients to the interview? I'm assuming that many of them will have seen that interview. Does it change anything for them in terms of what was said in it?
Of course, it's been upsetting to at least some of them to hear what he said. Obviously, he did not show very much feeling, sympathy, empathy for the victims in it. Except for, speaking about the allegation of rape, which has been made against him by one of the victims of Mr. Epstein. Essentially, there was little or no reference to the many, many other victims of Mr. Epstein. Yeah. So that, of course, is upsetting. They're not a footnote. It's essential that they receive a justice, that they learn all of the truth about how this could have happened, why it happened, and anyone who might have information should provide it. But so, of course, that was not a satisfactory interview of Prince Andrew. I think at this point he understands that.
Yeah, Gloria Allred, thank you very much indeed for joining us. So we're going to talk to the historian Anthony Selden now. Nice to see you, Anthony. Let me try and get your response to this, first of all. It's been quite a day and it's been quite late breaking. I'm wondering how a historian puts this into any kind of context.
Well, it's quite quick for a historian to put it into context because it's all happening, but my sense of it is that he has done what was necessary. He has closed it down as far as he is concerned. He has, maybe inadequate, but he has tried to say what he didn't say to you at the weekend, which is that he feels some sympathy for the victims. He's sorry he kept going with his relationship with Epstein, and I think that it is going to probably close it down and be enough. I mean, we'll have to see what happens, but he's only the 8th figure who is in line for the monarchy. We're not talking about Prince Charles. He's only the 15th most popular figure in the royal family. I mean, this is fundamentally a family matter. I don't think it's a monarchy matter.
OK, that's interesting. But in the sense of where this imperative came from, do you sense that it was the Prince's response to the press he was getting? Was it the Queen herself? Would Prince Charles have had a hand in this decision?
Well, I absolutely don't know the answer to that question, but clearly he himself, Prince Andrew, said what he said about, and that's a very big step for him to withdraw for the foreseeable future. I mean, that's a big deal and almost without precedent. So he clearly had to have sanctioned that, and somewhere it's occurred to him that since he spoke to you, and now he's realised that he was very considerably out of step with the nation.
It's interesting that the idea of the nation, because it does contribute somewhere along the lines to this wider sense that all the institutions that we've taken for granted for so long don't feel quite so stable at the moment as we assumed they were.
Yes, well, I think that there's a lot in that. I mean, we are in an extraordinarily volatile political position. We had the Brexit referendum in 2016. There was a clear opportunity then to have had a national solution to a national issue, Brexit, but the Prime Minister of the day chose to make it a narrow tribal solution. Only after 3 years of failing to get her solution did she reach out across her own party and across the floor of the House to Labour, too late in the day, by which time the nation had become extremely polarised, more so than at any point arguably since before the First World War. And there were 3 years when the country didn't get on and start solving the long-standing issues that it needs to be looking at. So this is a serious issue, and we need the monarchy. The monarchy is a real point of stability at this moment in our history.
Have we seen the royals investigated by the police before in this way? Has that happened before? I mean, do you understand why the Met Police would perhaps find it difficult to go further than they did, if that was the reason?
Emily, I mean, this is I'm not a specialist in what the police have done with the royal family, but I mean, this is not a monarchical issue. This is a family issue concerned with the eighth in line to the succession, who tried, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, it seems like he was trying to clear his name, hence giving the interview. It went very badly wrong. He made a series of misjudgments.
And yet this was an attempt, wasn't it, to engage with the public, to be more forthcoming, to be more open. I wonder what you think that tells us about the way that they'll interact with the public in the future.
Well, I mean, it's a learning experience for them. I mean, it hasn't been a great week for the family, but I think the monarchy will come through unscathed. It's not like the 1990s and with Prince Charles. And my sense is that the monarchy's learnt from that experience, has reacted very quickly and taken decisive action, which I think will be enough to see the family and certainly the monarchy through at this key moment in our national history.
Anthony Selton, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just before we came on air, I spoke to Di Davis. He's a former head of Royal Protection and Chief Superintendent of the Met Police. And I began by asking him what he thought would happen now.
Well, one, I'm delighted that he is going to cooperate, because we tend to forget the 40-odd victims from 14 upwards, which allegedly have been abused by his friend. So one, I think he's doing the right thing. I think he was pushed rather than being voluntarily doing so, but I'm glad he has. And so now I would like to see the FBI and the French authorities combine with the British authorities at whatever agency is appropriate to actually look as to whether he can give material witness evidence, or whether that evidence, if it's properly probed, might lead to him being interviewed under caution.
Is there pressure on the police here to reopen the investigation? Do you understand fully why it was thrown out?
Well, I don't. You know, obviously I've been involved in this for a little while now, and I can't understand, having seen some of the testimonies that have come forward, particularly as the allegations against Miss Maxwell are concerned, you know, trafficking women for sexual offences anywhere in this country, in the Virgin Islands or in the United States by a British citizen is a very serious criminal offence. If those allegations have been made to Scotland Yard, I would like to know very respectfully who decided that it didn't warrant any kind of investigation, and then at what level was that decided? Did it go all the way to Commissioner? And did it go further up the train? Because the Home Secretary is ultimately responsible for the protection of the royal family. So the questions need to be asked: why, if proper evidence was put forward, did somebody decide in their wisdom that it didn't warrant even the preliminary investigations? Now, they may have done some. I don't know.
Just clarify that for me, because you know the Metropolitan Police well, you've worked closely with the Royals. You think this will have been raised at the highest levels in the force and somebody will have taken the decision not to go further?
Well, it's a question I think, legitimately asking. Now all of this is coming out. You know, the world is crying out for clarity on this matter. You tried your very best and succeeded in many ways, but in one sense, all you did was open the floodgates. There are so many other questions that need to be asked, particularly of the Prince, but also some of his associates and those who advised him and possibly travelled with him on some of these occasions. What on earth was going on?
You will know that the Met did look into these allegations. It took them very seriously and didn't have enough evidence to proceed. Let me ask you what you made of the details that we learnt on Saturday night about the Pizza Express, I suppose you'd call it an alibi or a defence, an explanation of Prince Andrew's whereabouts. What did that tell you?
Well, I didn't accept it for one moment, in the sense that it was an alibi, because Tramps, where he has been going to for many years, he would know perfectly well it doesn't open till 10:30, 11 p.m. He also said he didn't know where the bar was. Well, he's been going there, and the bar is very close to the dance area. You couldn't possibly not know where the bar is. And so you asked so many questions, and unfortunately we haven't got half an hour for me to go through them with you, but I would like to drill down into a number of areas.
That was Di Davis, and we should make clear that the references he made to allegations and questioning under caution in that interview referred to Epstein, not Prince Andrew, who's always denied any wrongdoing.